On the morning of August 30th, 2013, at exactly 5:30 a.m., a cyclist was pedaling along the access road to the main boat launch at Castaic Lake, California. It was that pre-dawn hour where the world is gray and silent. As he rounded a bend near Lake Hughes Road, he saw something that didn't belong. Resting on its side at the bottom of a 25-foot embankment was a beige 2003 Toyota Highlander. It had careened off the road, tumbled down the steep, brush-covered slope, and landed with such force that the rear window had shattered completely. When the California Highway Patrol arrived, they expected to find a grisly scene inside. But as they peered through the broken glass and into the cabin, they found the car was empty. There was no driver, no passenger, and no blood. What they did find, however, were all the things a person usually takes with them when they leave a vehicle. A wallet with credit cards and cash, a cell phone, and a laptop. Everything was there except for 19-year-old Bryce Laspisa. But here's what makes this strange. This wasn't just a hit and run or a confused driver wandering off. This was the conclusion of a 3-day journey that should have taken only 7 hours. And what investigators found next would shock the nation. To understand how Bryce ended up at the bottom of a ravine in Castaic, we have to go back to August 27, 2013. Bryce was a sophomore at Sierra College in Rocklin, California, just outside of Sacramento. He was an artistic kid, a ginger-haired, blue-eyed teenager who had moved from Illinois to California with his parents, Michael and Karen, just a few years prior. By all accounts, Bryce was doing well. But that Tuesday, something shifted. Bryce began calling his mother, Karen, frequently. His friends noticed he was acting out of character. He was giving away his belongings, his Xbox, some clothes, telling people he didn't need them anymore. He even gave a friend a pair of diamond earrings that had been a gift from his mother. That night, Bryce broke up with his girlfriend Kim in Chico. He told her she was better off without him. When he left her apartment at 11:30 p.m., he told his parents he was coming home to Laguna Niguel in Orange County. It's a 450-mile drive. If you take Interstate 5, it's a straight shot south. But as Bryce pulled onto the highway, the story shifts into something much more unsettling. At 11 a.m. the next morning, August 28th, Karen and Michael Laspisa got a call. It wasn't from Bryce saying he was home. It was from a roadside assistance company. Bryce had run out of gas in Buttonwillow, a dusty transit town in the Central Valley, about 3 hours north of his parents' house. A man named Christian, who worked for Castro's Tire and Truck, delivered 3 gallons of gas to Bryce. Christian would later tell investigators that Bryce seemed completely normal, just a kid who made a mistake and ran his tank dry. But instead of getting back on the road and finishing the last leg of his trip, Bryce stayed in Buttonwillow. For the next 13 hours, Bryce sat in his car. He didn't go into a restaurant. He didn't go into a motel. He just sat in the Toyota Highlander, parked in a lot near a Starbucks. His parents, who were tracking his location through his cell phone and credit card use, were frantic. They called him repeatedly. When he did answer, he was vague. He told them he was fine. He told them he was just tired and was going to sleep. But he wasn't sleeping, he was just waiting. Around 9:00 p.m. that night, Christian, the gas delivery man, returned to the parking lot and saw Bryce's car was still there. He was concerned and approached the window. Bryce looked at him and said he wasn't ready to leave yet. Christian, feeling uneasy, called Karen Laspisa and told her what was happening. Karen begged Bryce to come home. She even offered to fly up and get him or have him stay in a hotel. But Bryce insisted he was going to drive. Eventually, at nearly midnight, he finally pulled out of the parking lot and headed south toward the Grapevine, the steep mountain pass that leads into Los Angeles. At 2:08 a.m. on August 30th, Bryce called his mother one last time. He told her he had pulled off the road again to rest. He said he was in a residential area and would call her when he woke up. 3 hours later, his car was found overturned at Castaic Lake. When investigators began looking into the crash, they realized something chilling. There were no skid marks on the road above the embankment, no signs of braking. The car hadn't swerved to avoid an animal. It appeared as though the vehicle had been driven straight off the edge at a high rate of speed. And yet, Bryce survived. The rear window of the Highlander had been kicked out from the inside. This suggested that after the car tumbled down the ravine and landed on its side, Bryce was conscious. He was mobile. He had the presence of mind to kick through the glass, climb out of the wreckage, and walk away. But he didn't walk.